Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tech High School Series Division One. We are in our final week here before we head to the playoffs. And joined with me today, the legend Jay. How are we doing today, brother?
Doing good, doing good. We have some exciting ones today. Finally starting to see those playoff scenarios play out. It's a battle for seeding on the top and then a battle to qualify on that bottom side. So definitely a bit tighter of a race for those teams on the bottom. Looking at the standings, the teams very, very close on the bottom. You can see the matchups are very close. All of those teams on the bottom so close in score as it's really now the top 8 make it through of the 9 teams. So those bottom teams, you don't want to be at the bottom or tied for the bottom. You want to have that slight advantage to get into the playoffs. The top teams that have already cemented themselves in the standings, they're just looking at seeding. They're just trying to win as many games as possible in order to have the easiest time in that playoff bracket.
Yeah, only 2 undefeated teams thus far. I know we get to see at least one of them, if not both, today. We could take a quick look at the schedule here as well. I know Berlin Brothers Valley up first against United, that 1-4 team taking on the 4-1 United. Winber 1-4 taking on Westmont Hilltop, who is 0-5 and pretty hungry for their first win. We have a banger around 5 as well. Penn Trafford sitting at 4-1, taking on one of those undefeated teams. That's Greater Altoona, who is 5-0. And then at 5:45, bringing you Bishop Carroll 1-4, taking on that other undefeated team, Forest Hills. So certainly a lot of exciting games here today, and definitely excited to get out on the pitch with you, Jay.
And if we take a peek at the standings here, the more up-to-date ones for Division 1, as I was alluding to earlier, we have 3 teams sitting at 1-4, Westmont 1-5. So that second matchup between Westmont and Winburg going to be very crucial, especially for Westmont. If they pick up their first win, they can at least tie with Winburg, and we'll go into some unknown scenario in order to determine which team goes into that playoff bracket. So very important for Westmont to win today, as Berlin Brothers United, that matchup, that first one, United is just looking for that win to see if they can get a better seed, especially with Penn Trafford having to play Greater Altoona. That match going to be very difficult for either side. You have Greater Altoona, which is tied for first, and Penn Trafford, which is tied for third at the moment. So that's about as close as it gets at the top in these matchups. All these matchups today seems like a very good list to round out the group stage here.
Yeah, and ironically, Greater Altoona, Forest Hills, both these undefeated teams not going to meet each other in the regular season. If they can both secure a win today, they'll remain undefeated, get those subjective 1 and 2 seeds, and potentially not see each other all or to the very end of the grand finals as we get ready here for game number 1.
Game number 1 looking to get underway. The players already going here as we see Berlin in the blue versus United in that dark gray black color. Good contrast today. I know in the previous week we had blue versus blue. That one was always fun, so good to see that the colors are nice and mixed up today. Makes it easier on us, and I'm sure makes it easier on everyone at home.
Yeah, back and forth. A shot here is going to be just wide into the left of the crossbar now. Floating across midfield as the worst player looks to backpedal. Washed Aaron carries on through. A nice touch off the backboard. A little too much on that one, though, as it kicks out across midfield. Ladunas looks to carry forward again. And both these teams kind of pretty quick pace here. Not really settling into their play style just yet. Oh, as worst player finds one. And kind of common in these game number 1s. A little more sporadic and less mechanical than we're used to.
Worst player, a good start. United, definitely the favorites in this game, but we'll see if Berlin will have anything to say about that. United, they take the first advantage in this best of 5, so losing game number 1 is not an end-all be-all for these teams, but it is good to walk away with that initial advantage and try and get that win as soon as possible. And so far, we've seen United spending a lot of their time in that Berlin half. A very quick start from them as they pick up a second here, and they make it that much more difficult for Berlin.
Yeah, just a nice touch off the back wall. We can see FaZe just coming in on these second chance opportunities. Ladunas following right into the net there as well. And up 2-0. We've seen some great improvements from Berlin Brothers over these last 2 games, but they're certainly going to have to be firing on all cylinders today if they want to take out this tough United team.
We'll see what Berlin have in store. A decent look, but they didn't quite have the positioning in order to create some offensive opportunity. They're starting to branch closer to that midfield. Now it's a matter of having that additional player forward to convert and try and send that ball towards the United net. United, they're having no problem sending players forward. You see the initial flick comes out, an immediate follow-up. Worst play of following up that touch, and the 1-2-1 connected, giving that third goal for those players in gray.
Yeah, United really just outpacing Berlin right now. They're the much quicker team. The car's always in always in movement. The rotations are certainly on point, and it's really allowing them to keep all of that possession down there on that Berlin Brothers Valley side. Berlin needs to find a way to kind of alleviate some of this space. I mean, worst player obviously having his way right there, but I think they need to find a way to kind of alleviate some of this space, and I think it could maybe be initiated with some big bumps or demos.
That physical play trying to disrupt the norm against United could prove to be beneficial. We'll see if that idea can come to fruition here. Kickoff going in favor of United, sent all the way back into that Berlin corner yet again. Berlin having to play out of their own box. They're seeing that it's not working for them. They need to break that repetition, break out into the midfield, try and force United to play in a play style that they're not used to having to play. As Berlin, yet again, we see another opportunity. It gets past that midfield line, but they just don't have the players there to follow it up and keep possession.
Yeah, now unfortunately they're on the back pedal again as worst player carries across midfield, and FaZe Gamer there to put it away. The teamwork is really just out here on all aspects. We can see a beautiful pass play phase right there to touch it in. Probably not necessary, maybe kind of sneaking that one away from worst player. Nonetheless, 5 on the board already with just 2:51 remaining.
Very quick start from United. Definitely good for the confidence. You know, winning by 1 goal, winning by 5 doesn't have a difference as far as game scores go, as far as the series longevity, but it is definitely good for that momentum, good for the mental for United. And Berlin, they're just looking for a bounce back here. That first goal is always the hardest, so once they're able to break that silence, it's possible for them to get the ball rolling in a more favorable direction for them. But right now, it's just Berlin playing out of their own half. And, you know, it's okay for a team to take a bit of a warm up, but in a best of 5, once you lose that game 1, you don't want to have to get a reverse sweep. So the ideal is that you bounce back after game 1. And right now, Berlin, they don't have a lot to look for as far as what they can do in game number 2. It's really just a matter of seeing what they can do for the rest of game number 1. See if they can figure out a strategy against United moving forward, because they're going to need one moving forward.
Yeah, they need to work on these rotations and comms just a little bit. We are seeing quite a bit of double committing here, kind of coagulating around that ball. I'm sure you'll see it again here in the replay as well. We have 2 players right there into the corner going for the ball, now bumping into the third, circling back. Both defenders rotating near that front post, and just nobody able to get back in time, right? So we just got to work on these rotations a little bit, spread that field a little bit more, and just make sure that we're not double committing, because a team like United is certainly going to make you pay on your minor mistakes.
United just looking to run away with it at this point. It's just a formality. They pick up a 7th here in game number 1. And normally I would say that if we're in the later part of a series, winning by 7, you know, it can be considered a bit of bad taste. But this is game number 1. It is good for United to get in the heads of Berlin for their sake and really cement themselves, try and make it as hard as possible for Berlin to not only pick up a win just based on raw skill, but also bounce back mentally in this series. As, like I said before, there's not going to be a lot of time, and Face Gamer picks up an 8th. What a blowout here that we're seeing in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, especially, you know, being the last game of the season, or last regular game of the season as well, when just one game separates these top 4 teams as well. So again, just solidifying a solid display here in this series could just further place them in a higher seed as well. So I think they're wanting to come out, show everybody what they got as well, and you know, they're certainly doing that here in game 1.
A very certain show of confidence indeed from United. Berlin still looking to piece together some opportunities, still looking to find a positive outlook here. Still scoreless here. They have a minute to find one, which in a game like Rocket League, a minute is plenty of time to score. A lot can happen in a single 60 seconds in this game we've come to know and love, but it's going to take a bit of perseverance from Berlin. Break that silence, break that curse, get that ball out of your own half is step number 1. Step number 2 is have someone there for a follow-up. And I think step number 3, everyone knows, is just get that ball in the back of the net around a defender, which can be the hard part. And we'll see Caden will get that one through. Berlin, they break this silence, and they have something good to look for in game number 2.
Yeah, a bit of an own goal here as well. Caden just trying to put a car on the ball. Unfortunately, worst play, wrong time, wrong place. And so again, they find a goal here before the end of game 1. I think that's very important. If they could find another, obviously that would be phenomenal. But just kind of trying to build a little bit of confidence, a little bit of momentum before you head into game 2. And certainly one more goal here could help that.
One more goal could give them a bit more confidence. Well, one more goal in the other direction. United is going to find their 9th goal here, as I think it's safe to say at this point that United, they're looking to walk away with game number 1. They're looking to have a hot start here for that last game of the regular season. And, well, can't really ask for a better start for United. They came out the gates running. Berlin, a bit of a slow start. They get 1 for the road here in game number 1, but as that clock ticks down, United are going to walk away with an advantage, and Berlin, especially in a matchup as tough as this for them, they can't afford to go at much more of a disadvantage. They need to get something going soon here in this series, or else United, they're just going to continue with that momentum that they've gained. They're going to continue to walk back away. This ball going to continue floating in the air. These players refuse to let it touch the ground. Finally, it looks like it will, and United take game number 1 here in the best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, and as we're going to see on the stats here, it doesn't surprise us. Field domination, ball possession, boost consumption, all in the favor of United as well. We can see the touches category, the assists, you name it. United really just dominating the ball, the field, controlling the pace of the game, just being that quicker team. And again, I think Berlin needs to try to find a way to maybe get some bumps or some demos out there to help create a little bit of space and maybe get United off their game plan. Because right now it feels like they're just sitting on the couch with friends having some casual play. They're certainly having a great time out there. So Berlin needs to kind of try to mix up the strategies here and see if they can get them to play a different game style.
And Berlin, they need that mix-up. They need to break that United, they're very comfortable just pushing that ball into the Berlin half, keeping it there for as long as possible, just putting shot after shot on net until one goes in. Berlin, earlier you mentioned a potential demo game, getting that physical play in, try and remove those players entirely, make it to where they can't have that 3-man circular rotation. That is one avenue. Another one is to try and play a little bit more aggressive. You know that regular play style is not going to work against United. We saw 5 minutes of that exact scenario playing out. So we'll see what Berlin can have in store. Potentially get a little bit more aggressive in the midfield to try and get that ball further into the United half and start testing that United defense. Start seeing what you can do against them. We know that United's offense works. We've seen that in the previous game, scoring 9 goals, but we have yet to see exactly what that United defense can do, as that ball seemed like it was always in that Berlin half. So hopefully for Berlin's sake, they're going to be able to walk away from game number 1 with a bit of a strategy going into game 2 and have a bit better of a showing.
Yeah, unfortunately, United really just dominating that first one phase, looking to do the same here, carrying across the midfield as well, has the teammates help. A bit of a double commit from United, but unfortunately, Iconic can't find the touch or the clear to kind of get this a counterattack rolling. As Worst looks to carry out back across midfield. One defender to beat, but Iconic goes up. A nice stop here. Working on those 3rd-man rotations as well, but now on the back pedal, nobody at the net. Acts across midfield, a dangerous pass. Able to be pushed out here by a washed Aaron, and already a little bit better display here in the first 30 seconds, but as we know, consistency is key, and we'll see if they can keep it rolling.
And we see the ball breach into that blue half. Will United be able to strike here? Or will Berlin be able to hold the line? The net's open. It's a race back into that net. FaZe Gamer is going to pick up right where United left off in game number 1. They'll strike first here in game number 2.
Yeah, and you'll see right there in the replay, it starts off with a double commit while the 3rd defender is tucked into the corner. And again, these double commits are going to come back to haunt them time and time again. You cannot do that against a talented team like United. You need to be communicating. You need to make sure someone's rotating toward that back post and then pushing out again. And right now, we just don't, unfortunately, see that from this Berlin Brothers Valley squad.
And now Berlin, a good breakout opportunity. They had the look at sending someone on a follow-up, but they couldn't quite have that possession. So we see a breakout opportunity there again. Berlin just needing to send that additional player forward. They're getting closer and closer, however. A good goal line save will keep United from their second. Berlin looking to break out of their own half. First touch off the wall, no good. So Worst play is going to move in, rolls it towards the net. The clear needs a follow-up, does get so, and Berlin, they're starting to push out of their half a bit more. We're seeing Berlin a bit better in this game. They definitely have improved from game number 1, but now it's just a battle to see if they can find something to show for it.
Yeah, the rotations do seem to be a bit better here as well. They just have to be careful with the double commits. Ludunas looking for the flick overhead, but Iconic able to pressure out here, find the touch. His Worst player goes up, gets one more. The wide open net, he's looking for the double tap near the cross post, but can't find it as Iconic comes up with another beautiful save. Looking to pressure the other direction, one defender to beat. Tries to settle, can't find the flick. Pressure's on, nearly gets it by, but can't. His Worst player comes up with some solid defense on the United side. Now, again, as you had mentioned, a much closer game here in 2. We kind of see him settling down a little bit, getting a little more comfortable and a little more trustworthy in their teammates. So hopefully they can snag a goal here soon as we near that halfway point.
crossing the half. United a much smaller advantage than they had before, so a good sign for Berlin, but they can't afford to just be playing at less of a disadvantage. They need to be able to equalize as United. They'll pick up their second off of a slight misplay in the midfield from Berlin. Still very possible here for Berlin. Only a 2-goal deficit, 2:23 on the clock, plenty of time. Over a minute per goal is very generous in this game, and it looks like they're going to find one immediately off the kickoff. A quick answer will put that game right back within one.
Yeah, maybe a bit of miscommunication here as well from the squad. That one just kind of sneaking and rolling its way in. Iconic Caden certainly has to be thrilled about that one. Obviously down by 2 can be tough, but now only 1 to go. The equalizer with 2:20 on the clock. The pressure mounting from Iconic here. Can't quite get up though, and a bit of a double commit from United as Iconic looks to carry the other way. Passes right to FaZe. Nobody's back in time. The touch off the post, and an easy goal here for FaZe Gamer as United goes back up by 2.
2-goal deficit in favor of United. Again, still very possible. We saw how quickly Berlin can respond, but they're going to have to do it again, not once, but twice in order to equalize. We'll see how the kickoff goes. It's in favor of Berlin. The touch on defense from United left a little bit too be desired, and it's going to give Berlin an opportunity. United having to play on defense a bit. You can see Berlin, they're starting to get more aggressive. They're getting that ball farther into that United half. They're starting to put more shots on target. It's just a matter of finding one and then a second to find its way through. Opportunity potential, but Caden's going to leave that one a bit. Saw the jumping defender, didn't want to overcommit too much, so backed out of that one. You see the challenges coming out from Berlin in that United half. They're getting faster, and at this rate, they might be able to find something pretty soon here.
Yeah, the thing that worries me, though, is in that corner as well, we saw all 3 of Berlin brothers jumping into each other as well. We talked about those double commits, even triple commits here, and you can't do it against a talented team like United, so maybe needing to take a deep breath here, kind of reset. 1:10 on the clock, still plenty of time, but they certainly need to find one here soon. Coagulated around midfield. Now on the back pedal is Berlin Brothers Valley. A big demo coming out from Washed Aaron as they look to carry the other direction. Defender sitting deep over the head of Ludunas. They can't quite get there, but this one is high and to the right. The second chance opportunity not quite there as well as United looks to clear this one out. 45 on the clock. Berlin Brothers Valley still down by 2.
And Berlin needing to find something sooner rather than later. Time is ticking for them. And United, they're just going to try and hold that ball as far away as possible. It's an open net, though, for Berlin. They'll walk that one all the way through. Washed Aaron's going to pick up a second goal in this game. So now all eyes are on United if they'll be able to hold the line. We know that kickoffs can go in favor of Berlin. So this kickoff's going to be really important for United if they want to hold off Berlin from tying this game.
I think United feeling pretty confident there, cheated forward pretty far and allowing Berlin to grab that easy goal. We'll see if they can work their magic here. 25 on the clock, but it's United knocking at the door. That one's high off the backboard. A bit of a double commit here from Berlin, but Axe able to carry this one down. Worst will find the clear in battle. Back in the other direction here is Caden. Can't get there, and Worst player most likely with the nail in the coffin here. Just a nicely executed play. A good follow-up as well, and now United up by 2 with just 13 remaining here in game number 2.
United, it would take a catastrophic failure here for them to drop in this game. Berlin, they're going to pick up a fairly neutral kickoff, but you see Worst play just melting the clock, trying to play keep away. The time ticking down, and well, that one's actually going to go in. 2 seconds on the clock is the exact amount of time that you do need for a kickoff goal. So United, they just need to prevent this ball from going straight into their net off of the kickoff. Still possible for Berlin here. It would be very unexpected, but we'll see what they're able to do as that clock ticks down for the kickoff, and United actually opting not to go for it. A bit of a risky strategy, looking to call the bluff. That one might find the back of the net, and it does, and the game is now all tied back up, and we're going to go into overtime here in game 2.
Was that an own goal? Was that intentional?
It looks like it was an own goal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So maybe an intentional overtime. That was a pass play off the back wall, a shot right directly into the goal as well. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe like sharks toying with their food in the water or what's going on here. I'm not sure.
Not exactly sure what is happening, but United opting to play for that overtime. We'll see what it has in store. As the ball finds itself all the way down into the Berlin half. United sending it into overtime, then looking to close it, but Berlin, they're holding that back line fairly well up to this point in overtime. They're going to get a breakout opportunity, send it into the United half, but it looks like it's just a dish and dash for Berlin, just dumping that ball past the midfield line and then leaving it, trying not to overcommit in overtime. It's going to be a potential save opportunity for Berlin. Could not find it, however, in United, in a very questionable manner, I do have to say. They will take game number 2, and they'll be on match point here.
Yeah, I mean, I am slightly baffled to say the least, but nonetheless, United able to come away with it here in overtime. We see some of those stats and really just controlling the pace of the game, field domination, ball possession as well, but much closer this time. The boost consumption certainly favored United a lot, but the ball possession and field domination was much closer. We saw Berlin do a much better job as well, so certainly a different game than that first game, and I think after that second game, I certainly have faith that they can come out here and steal a game or two away from United, but I really don't see them taking this series away from United here.
Berlin having that opportunity to pick up some game wins here, potentially find it, but they're going to have to put the pieces together, and they're going to have to do it consistently. Now that United find themselves on match point, Berlin, they need to win 3 consecutive games against this dominant-looking United. So a big task for Berlin. Is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? We'll have to see, because it's going to take a major change that we haven't quite expected, but they showed that they can get much closer. We go from that first game that was 1-9 to an overtime. So a much better showing from Berlin. They're showing that it's possible for them to compete at that same level as United, but they're going to have to do it for 15 minutes of standard gameplay.
Yeah, and they're really going to have to start eliminating these minor mistakes. We've seen so many double and triple commits as well on these rotations. So it's just these minor mistakes that can really come back to haunt them. United certainly making them pay, grabbing those early goals as well. So I think if they can, you know, it's easier said than done, but if they can consistently play well for these 15 minutes, certainly we could see a different outcome. But as we talk about it here, Ludunas doing Ludunas things, finding an early goal, just 7 seconds off the clock here before United steals one.
Very quick United goal. So Berlin playing from behind yet again. It seems what they've grown to know here in this series, always playing from some sort of deficit. They haven't quite been able to find their own equalizers. United did get that overtime equalizer for Berlin in the previous game, opting to send it into overtime. Berlin, they're looking to change history here and find an early equalizer. Don't let United run away with anything like we saw in game number 1. Try and keep it as close as possible for as long as possible, and then find some advantage at the end. It's going to take them branching out of their own half here. A little bit of a misplay on defense, but it does fake out the offender, and it's going to let Berlin have a little bit of offense. A misflip on the United defense will let Berlin find that equalizer still within that opening minute.
Yeah, just a nice job here by Washington to go ahead and finish through. And again, I think a bit of a miscue from FaZe Gamer. I'm not sure that was the direction they meant to jump, but certainly has happened to most of us here with that dead zone action. 4:14 on the clock. We are all tied up at 1. And again, these last 2 games have been much better for Berlin. I certainly like the way that they're playing better as well. Just kind of working on these rotations a little bit, the double commit a little bit. And honestly, I think they can definitely take a game away from United here.
They could very easily take this game. It's just going to take some favorable interactions for them. United, a bit of a breakaway, though. They'll sink that one in. A bit of a team pinch to finish off just for fun. They'll regain that lead very, very quickly. So we have Berlin playing from a deficit. They've shown in this game number 3 that they can come back from that they can work from that deficit and find the equalizer. But now we'll have to see what they can do, and if they can do it again here. As United, they could have potentially learned from that one mistake, be a little less panicky on defense, play a little bit more collected, and Berlin, it might take a bit more creativity this time to equalize again.
Ooh,
That one
We are
finds
just
its way in.
full of caster curses today. I feel like the moment we open our mouth, it goes the opposite direction, and Axe sneaking this one in as well. You know, we saw some really solid rotations from United in that first game. I feel like they've just gotten maybe a little overconfident or a little too cocky here, because we see United cheating forward a lot. All three members, that's two different goals now where nobody's been back in position to stop the ball. And I think they're really just kind of feeling fearless out here as they steal another goal here, 3:24.
And now we see Berlin, who would have thought, playing from another one-goal deficit. It's just the back and forth exchange favoring United up to this point. Berlin looking to change that trend. I mentioned that Berlin needs to get creative to find equalizers. Well, it could potentially just be United mistakes. We saw that second equalizer coming off of a team bump from United that opened up their backline for that goal to roll in. United, a quick response puts them back at that one-goal lead. So theoretically speaking, Berlin should be able to find an equalizer in some form or fashion, but I'm sure United also looking to change that trend in favor of themselves, find some extended lead. That way, if a mistake comes out and they have that insurance goal, they'll still have that lead and they won't have to worry nearly as much.
Yeah, Faye's on the attack there. A nice pass from Worst, but nothing able to come from that one as Ludunas carries one more in, and now Worst from up top off the side here nearly gets it. Ludunas on the back pedal, can't find the time as Faze will pinch this one back in. Iconic there trying to pressure it out. They can't find the clear just yet. A bit of a double commit here off the wall, finds nothing as well. But watched Aaron back there to pressure this one forward into the corner, now across midfield, and nobody there on the attack as well. Looking for the demo. And I love when players look for that extra play after the ball touch, circling out, trying to find a bump or a demo. Great play here from Berlin. Unfortunately, nothing coming off of that one. The counterattack here now knocking out the door. Worst player fires to the right. And now United is pressuring in here pretty fiercely.
United looking to find that fourth goal, give themselves a bit of an extended lead. Berlin trying to fight to prevent just that, find an equalizer, a goal for themselves. It's on the goal line. Will they be able to sink it through? Caden will. And for the third consecutive time here, Berlin, they'll equalize. They'll prevent United from getting an extended lead, and they'll keep it pretty close here in this game that could determine the series.
Yeah, I love how hungry Berlin is here. I mean, they've really come out. They've really stepped up that aggressive pace as well, and it's certainly paid off in their favor. We'll see if they can keep that up for the next minute 50 here as Worst player looking to razzle-dazzle his way into the net here, but Iconic finds a phenomenal save to keep the team alive and out. Carrying over top. Looking for one more, can't find the touch. Iconic will get the pressure, but not a lot on that one as Ludunas meets him up top, able to get there first. A nice pass play, and Worst player executes this one nicely. 91 seconds on the clock, and they'll find the lead by one.
And now we see that one-goal lead come for United yet again. This interaction not necessarily favoring Berlin as that clock ticks down. It's okay to get to be in that situation in a one-goal deficit early on, but as the clock ticks down, it's going to be that much more difficult to come back. The pressure is going to be that much higher, and we see United finally break the trend right off the kickoff, going favorably for them at this time. A bit of reverse karma. They let a kickoff goal in, and now they get their own. This time, a minute and a half remaining. United, they'll take their biggest lead of this game number 3, which is only 2 goals.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that crazy game number 1, which can happen from time to time as both teams kind of work out the kinks, get the first game jitters out of the way. These last 2 games certainly have been much closer. Ludunas on the attack, though, fires. That one's going to be just to the right as Worst player already has a hat trick. Ludunas looking to get one of their own, but now on the back pedal, we can see Berlin on that counterattack, unable to find the touch, though. Now across midfield, has one more waiting. And I will say these rotations, this third man play from Berlin has been much more solid in these last 2 games.
Berlin has been looking a lot better, and the scoreline has been showing. Their ability to keep this game close has been a task for United to deal with. Berlin almost bringing it back within 1. They need to find something very soon here. Almost final 30 seconds. United pushing into that Berlin half. United just trying to keep that ball as far away from their net as possible. Berlin charging down the field. Will that one go in? No, a very heroic save. It's going to keep that one out. A bit of a breakaway for United. They'll extend that lead to 3, and with only 19 seconds remaining, it's looking like it might be decided. that one just rolling right back into that net. A bit painful to watch if you are Berlin. That one finding its way all the way down. Final moments ticking by. Berlin looking to pick one up, but they can't find it, unfortunately. Final 12, that ball bouncing up in the air, bouncing around, but not in the back of that United net where Berlin need it. It's in the blue half as the final seconds tick down. It's a formality at this point, and United will take it. They will go ahead and pick up that win and keep those playoff scenarios very favorable for them.
Yeah, I mean, now going to 5-1 on the season. Again, Penn Trafford, we'll see a little bit later. 4-1 has a chance to tie them up as well, but kind of certainly solidifying their role in that top 3 seed area as well. So a great job from them. Got a little bit hectic in game number 2, but overall certainly did a phenomenal job here today, and they've got to be excited about heading into the playoffs next week.
And a very good run there for United. Very confident. It was a little close in the middle, but when it came down to it, United were able to walk away with that sweep, and they give themselves even more of an advantage going into those playoff scenarios, as now they're 5-1. All eyes become on they gaze to Penn Trafford, who need to try and tie that 5-1, as they would be able to stay tied with United. And again, we go into some fancy playoff seeding scenarios, which still unclear exactly how that would go, but I'm sure it will be something fair, something technical, potentially even something exciting. So Penn Trafford, they need to pick up that win if they want to keep that competitive seeding. United, they've done their job here, and they did so pretty confidently.
Yeah, Penn Trafford has to do that against an undefeated team a little bit later here around 5, though, guys. We're going to take a short break. However, when we come back, though, we've got Winburg taking on Westmont Hilltop, looking for their first win on the season. So don't go anywhere, guys. We have more action for you right after this short break. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the TEC High School Series Division 1. Game number 2 coming up. Winber, 1-4, taking on Westmont Hilltop, 0-5, who are looking to secure their first win on the season. Thoughts on this next banger, Jay?
Very important series specifically for Westmont, as if they can win this one over Winber, they'll tie in series differential and send us into playoff scenarios. If Winber take this, they will secure that spot in the playoffs. So it's very important, especially for Westmont, but I guess equally as important for Winber, as if Winber don't take this win, there'll be a chance that they don't make playoffs, but Westmont, this is a must win for them. So we'll see what Westmont are able to bring out. Hopefully for their sake, they're going to bring their best, as this might be the most important series that they've had up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, basically do or die at this point if they want to try to get a spot in this playoff bracket coming here again. The final week for both these teams, Winber 1-4. We saw a great display from them last week as well. But, Westmont certainly has to be hungry for a win. I think it's going to be a close series, hopefully anyway. But we possibly could have a game 4 or 5 in this one.
Could be very exciting, and I'm sure the players just want to speak for themselves. On the desk we can talk about how these players need to play, what they're capable of, but I think it's a matter of the players wanting to show that for themselves, show that they are more than what the desk expects out of them, more than what the desk thinks they can or can't do. Those players, they're going to be hungry, especially Westmont, wanting to pick up that first win, and this first win could be so important for them. So we'll see exactly what they're able to do. I hope for their sake that Westmont's able to. I think it would be a great story for them if they are able to show up here, if they're able to just come into this series just playing the best that they can. And at the end of the day, if they can't take the win at their best, then at least they know that they did everything they could. The last thing you want to see is these players going into a series like this, not able to play at that top level that they can, and regret it later. Be ashamed that they weren't able to play when it mattered the most. So Westmont Hill, it's almost personal for them, as it looks like we're getting loaded up here into game number 1. We'll see exactly what Westmont are going to be able to do.
Yeah, we've got Winber in blue, Westmont here in red as they look to grab their first win on the season. Not Wyatt, though, coming out with an early demo here, trying to create some space. And now the shot toward net, though, as Ty Hall will get blocked here by Random. And now they look to carry the other direction. And a nice little, he's going for the flip reset. Didn't quite get it there. But I think more times than not, this first game is a little more hectic, a little more fast-paced, a little less mechanical than some of the other games. So we'll see if both these teams can kind of fall into their play style early, or if maybe we'll still have one of these sporadic game number 1s.
Could see a sporadic game number 1. You never know what to expect, but it's always fun to see, as Winber is going to roll that one all the way down the pitch. They'll strike first here against Westmont in game number 1.
Yeah, we see a couple demos coming out here early as well, as we had mentioned, kind of opening up that defensive area back there. Nobody around the goal there, is that one really not anything fancy and not a lot of power. Just kind of rolls onto the back of the net, up by 1 here, 4:14 on the clock.
Westmont, they want to find something soon. This game's so important for them. They want to find that strike back, that equalizer. Still plenty of time to do it, however, so no need for Westmont to rush anything and risk making a mistake. It's good to take your time to get to feel the other team before you really start trying to hone in on that finalized play style and find something. Winber looking to find a second. Will Nightmare be able to wrap around? Not quite. Still going to keep it relevant on offense, though. Just trying to keep possession, keep it away from Westmont. Nightmare doing a good job at just that, but Westmont looking to pick up possession in the midfield. This ball spending a lot of time in that Westmont half, which is great if you're Winber, but for the sake of Westmont, they're going to want to start getting that ball out of their own box. It's goal line shenanigans here in game number 1. Somehow not finding the back of the net, but every single player getting involved.
Yeah, a tactical whiff city indeed, as that ball was floating around the danger zone there. And fortunately for Westmont, Winber unable to secure a second one. Now battling back, trying to get some pressure of their own as C-Cell across midfield, now into the corner. Can't get there in time, but Winber bumping into each other a bit. Ty Hall has to get back, finds the touch to save this one from the back of the net. Now on the counter attack, but a double commit from Westmont. They bump into each other. A wide open net here is Random. Tries to find a pass opportunity to teammates. Nobody there, unfortunately, as that one goes just over the car as well. And both of these teams kind of just scrambling to find a car onto the ball here.
And we see Westmont looking to approach that Winber box, getting close. It's a matter of Westmont building up that aggression, building up that confidence to be able to send that ball down the pitch. They're starting to get it more and more across that midfield line, which is good going into the second half. But Winber, whenever they break out into that red half, they're looking to find that extension. They're looking to find something else to set them ahead. As we see, it looks like Winber, they're just trying to play keep away at this point. Just keep it away from Westmont. They got the lead. It's only a 1-goal lead, but a lead is still a lead, and they're just looking to hold it and keep it so far away from the hands of Westmont.
Yeah, we'll see if Westmont can find a counterattack here. A bit of a double commit at midfield as well, and now the touch going the other direction as Winber finds themselves on the attack. Ty Hall back, finds a defensive stop, looks to carry out, has some help from C-Cell, but again, they get bunched together here. These double commits really just kind of honoring. We see him getting bunched together in the corner as well. Honestly, C-Cell bumping into his own teammate there. And those are things you really have to avoid, especially when that ball is knocking out the door.
And Winber, they'll extend their lead. They'll get that insurance goal. So now we'll see what Westmont are able to do as we enter the final 100 seconds here. It's in the Winber half. It's where Westmont needs it, but they're just not able to convert. Opening opportunity. Random's not going to miss, and we see a even greater extension here. 3-0 now. As this clock ticks down in Westmont, they're just looking, if they're not able to take this, they're looking to find some momentum, find some favorable opportunity, some answer to this Winber team.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in these first few minutes, it looked very evenly matched and like it was going to be a very close game, but Winber starting to run away, kind of capitalizing on these minor mistakes that Westmont is making from these kind of double commits, and the rotations just slightly not on point here as King Foxy Gamer looks to carry out, has an opportunity. Nightmare able to get there in time as C-Cell will touch this one off the wall, and now back across midfield as Random goes up, finds a touch onto the car. Ty Hall not able to get the touch they need, and now Random will continue this pressure forward here as Ty Hall goes up, a bit of a double commit again, and now nobody in that back post, working outward for Westmont Hilltop, bumping into each other in the background as C-Cell and Ty Hall again, and they really need to work on these rotations and these comms because they can't afford to be stealing the ball from each other and continuously bumping into each other as well.
And final 30 here. Winber, they're looking comfortable. They're looking good. They're looking confident, which is what they need for their sake. They want to win this as confidently as possible to guarantee that spot in the playoffs, and definitely a good start for them, but it is a battle of endurance as we are in a best of 5, so the winning team will have to win 3 games of Rocket League, not just 1. Picking up game number 1, it does definitely help, but it's not end-all be-all. We saw in that previous series how Berlin had a bit of a rough game number 1, but brought it back in the series and kept it close moving forward. So we'll see what Westmont Hilltop are going to be able to do moving forward. Winber, though, they look comfortable in game number 1, and that 3-0 win is definitely going to give them some momentum.
Yeah, I mean, just doing a phenomenal job there as well. We can see the majority of the touches coming out of Random and Nightmare there, but I mean, ball possession, field domination, all big time in the favor of Winber. Boost consumption, though, slightly in the favor of Westmont, but again, not able to keep that ball off that defensive side for them. Winber just basically a relentless firing squad. Pressuring in. We did see a little more demos on that Winber side as well. So again, I think honestly, it was just those rotations and those double commits that were really haunting Westmont there.
If Westmont can clean up those mistakes and up that demo awareness a little bit, they can certainly walk away with game wins and potentially take the series the distance, even pick up a necessary win. But it's going to be a matter of their own doing. They can't afford to wait for any sort of Winber mistakes. They need to instigate. They need to create those opportunities themselves, and it starts with that rotation you mentioned. Before you try and develop a good offense, you need to have a good foundation to work off of. You need a good defense, and that's their starting point. They know what kind of mistakes they're making. They were shown multiple times in that game number 1, and so now it's a matter of remedying those, getting a comfortable defensive midfield rotation, and then start adding in that offensive aggression, getting it into that Winber half and creating opportunities yourself. It's a multi-step process that Westmont need to follow, but it sounds complicated. It's a fairly easy process to follow. You look at your mistakes, you know what they are. It's just a matter of, give them a little bit of a cleanup, dust off the controller and find it yourself playing at your best. So Westmont, they don't want to lose this game. They don't want to have to get a reverse sweep against Winber. They want to get this game win and give themselves that equalizer in the series and keep it as competitive as they can.
Yeah, and again, it just starts with something as simple, fundamental as those rotations. We saw so many double commits. We saw so many players bumping into each other in front of that goal. And, if you go for the ball and you don't hit it, you have no momentum, don't keep going for that ball. Circle back to that far post and work your way out. That's going to go a long way for this Westmont Hilltop team if they can just make these minor adjustments.
Those minor adjustments is all it'll take. A very close game, to say. I know we make it sound like it was an utter blowout. 3-0 in favor of Winber is nothing that is unobtainable for Westmont. That is something that they could very easily bounce back from. It wasn't extremely one-sided. Winber, they just looked a bit more comfortable, which is what gave them that advantage, what gave them that lead. Winber, they looked calm, they looked collected against Westmont. Westmont, you see, typically with double commits like that, it's a sign of panic. It shows that these players are very anxious to have a player behind the ball at all times, and at some points it can make the players feel like individually they need to do more than what they actually need to do, because they'll try and take it upon themselves to go for the ball, and if you have two players that take it upon themselves, you get a double commit, and then your rotation is in shambles. So for the sake of Westmont, just calm down, make sure your communication is up to the standard that you want it, and then you can start getting those offensive opportunities that you want to give yourselves any sort of advantage you can get.
Yeah, and right now it's Winber looking to apply that pressure here early again, as Randoms will carry this one in. I think he knew it was going in, didn't have to do anything too extra as he finds a nice touch in the air. Great control as well. Look at that control of the car in the air. I mean, they make it look easy, right? As someone who plays Rocket League, I can certainly tell you it is not as easy as they make it look.
And we'll see Winber take another advantage. We'll see what Westmont have to say about it. That's now 4 unanswered goals in favor of Winber. So Westmont still looking to pick up their first goal. It might be 5 as Random's able to secure that one just over 30 seconds in, and we see Winber continuing right where they left off, and they find themselves a bit more of a lead. Still so much time on the clock though for Westmont, but there hasn't been an opportunity where they've scored just yet. So as much time has passed in this game, you can take on an additional 5 minutes for Westmont as far as game played without scoring here.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, I think it just kind of boils back to those rotations and those double commits. So hopefully they can kind of settle into a game style that they're comfortable with right now. C-Cell on the back pedal, tries to find a second touch. A nice flick, but again, Nightmare waiting patiently. Well read, and this one's going to sneak on by the defender as well. Kind of maybe a little bit of a miscue on this jump. We'll see it again in the replay. Nightmare, a nice easy shot. Again, nothing fancy or spectacular. Ty just kind of rotating in the opposite direction, having to stop and go back. Just the momentum going that wrong way. So now Winber finds 3 here, and not even a minute off the clock here in game number 2.
We see the replicated scoreline of game number 1 repeated in the first minute for Winber. So it seems like Winber also had their own little step up. Westmont, they're not running out of time just yet, but it is very, very important that they start getting some momentum soon, not only for the sake of this game, but for the sake of the series, as Winber, they're looking to walk away with it, and they'll pick up a 4th, just piling on that pressure in the midfield.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was Winber last week when I was casting at the point they were 0-4 at that time. And really in these last couple weeks, they have developed a lot. I remember watching the team thinking, how is this an 0-4 team? And, I'm sitting here thinking, how is this a 1-4 team? They certainly have good team chemistry at this point in the season. The rotation seemed to be very on point. They have good aerial and mechanical control as well. So Winber really progressing over the season here, and it's great to see how much these teams progress over such a little time, 6 weeks here. So but Nightmare putting in another one here for Wimber. Now they're starting to run away with it,
and we're seeing that confidence from Winber. They didn't look shaky by any means in game number 1, but they definitely did not look as confident as this, which leads me to believe that they were still getting acclimated to Westmont's playstyle. But I think Winber has a good understanding, as 5-0 in the opening 2 minutes. I mean, that's a good sign that a team is feeling comfortable against another team. Almost 6, but Westmont Hilltop able to hold that defensive line strong enough to prevent that. As Westmont, they just need anything at this point. It would be a big ask to say that they come back from a 5-goal deficit. Is it possible? Sure. But Westmont, in order to start doing that, they need something in the right direction, as that's now 8 unanswered goals in favor of Winber. Westmont still trying to find their first of the series.
Yeah, I mean, really, we see Winber touching the ball, 5, 6, 7, 8 times before Westmont can even find a touch. I think, Winber just that quicker team right now. They're doing a great job of boost consumption. They're always getting to the ball first. And that confidence that you mentioned just exuberating on the field goes to show that whenever there's a ball in the air, they're instantly going up for it, right? We see Random there, the first to touch it. Nobody from Westmont is around. You'll see it in the replay as well. But just being that much quicker team in a game like Rocket League, to me, that aggressive team, that quicker team usually is the team that comes out on top.
And another pick up there will be 9. Now, unanswered goals in favor of Winber. Westmont still looking to find something to work with, still looking to find some positive outlook here in the series, but really just has been the Winber show. They get it past that midfield line, and it feels like Winber's just able to keep it there the entire time. A drop down potential from Random will find its way in. 10 unanswered goals against Westmont Hilltop, 7 of them being here in game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, Random, Nightmare both getting a hat trick here in game number 2. And I believe in that first game, not Wyatt had less than 10 touches. It was all Random and Nightmare. It seems like these two have played together before. They certainly have good team chemistry and comms, and it's almost like they know where each other's going to be. We see a lot of phenomenal passing plays coming out of these two. His Random thread one there. But again, I think they have very good team chemistry together. I don't know what they've done over these last few games. Or these last few weeks, but they certainly have really come along here for Winber, and I love to watch and see how this team has progressed in these last couple weeks.
A big step up from Winber here. It's interesting. You wouldn't believe that they are towards the bottom of the current league standings, but they are one of those teams fighting at the bottom for playoff qualification, and it's looking like if they can play like this in the playoffs, they might be able to demonstrate something a little bit more deserving, or a little bit more representative than the seeding that they have received once they make it through. If they are able to close out, we're talking about playoff scenarios. They still have to win this series in order to see those playoff scenarios through, but they are looking very comfortable, and that is another goal. 9 in this game. It could be one of the biggest blowouts that we've seen here in league play.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like they have the better mechanical control here as well, the mechanical ability. I mean, we see Randoms, we see Nightmare going up, dribbling, air dribbling, having that great control, and we really don't see that as much from Westmont. So, again, I think Westmont could combat that with that a little more aggressive play style, but again, it's always easier said than done when you're out there on the pitch.
So we enter the final minute here, Winber. They're looking comfortable. They're looking good. We'll see what exactly that entails for game number 3, if Winber going to be able to continue. But we see Cell pick up 1 in favor of Westmont. The silence now broken for them, although it could be a little bit too little too late. A good look, though, going into game number 3. Certainly that Westmont have gotten on their board. They break the silence, and they find something positive to look at going into that final game, potentially final game.
Whew, yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate. It took them 9 minutes and 4 seconds to find their first goal, but then just an additional 3 seconds after that to find their second goal, right? So I think if anything they can take away with this, we can certainly score against this team. We can string together some nice plays. Now we have to do it consistently, right? Let's try to bang out another goal or here too in game number 2, build some confidence, build some momentum, and see if we can't work toward taking game number 3 and start to build this reverse sweep. I mean, I love a good underdog. Westmont Hilltop certainly capable of bringing this series back. Unfortunately, Random's going to make that very, very tough for him.
And Randoms will find a good response. Not that it was necessarily needed, but good for Winbur to not let Westmont have too much momentum against them. Final 36 seconds here, 10-2 scoreline. Certainly this game is decided, and Winbur will be on match point once that clock hits 0. Westmont, they're going to need a big bounce back. Winbur has scored 13 goals to this point to Westmont's 2, so it's going to need a very large step up from Westmont. We'll see what they're able to do. Definitely a better look in this game when it comes to their offensive conversions, but they're going to need more than that. They need to get that defense sorted out. They can't be letting in nearly as many goals in this as in this game. Final seconds ticking down. Random drops in an 11th goal for Winbur in this game, and I think it's pretty safe to say that it's decided here.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like Westmont struggled those first 7 minutes. I mean, all of game 1 and a couple minutes here in game 2, but honestly, the way that they were playing in these last couple minutes, offensively, the rotations, we saw a couple bumps as well. So I think if they could consistently play like this throughout the entirety of game 3, we could see a different outcome. It is going to be very tough for them. Obviously, Random, Nightmare working very well together. But if they can consistently play these next 5 minutes like they played that last minute and a half, last 2 minutes, they certainly could take a game away from Winbur here.
And they very well could. It's going to take a step up, though, and that's the big thing. We need to see Westmont clean up those mistakes. They're out of second chances to do so in this best of 5. It has to be flawless from them moving forward if they want to be able to take down Winbur. As we see Random, 8 goals, almost 3 hat tricks in one game of Rocket League alone. Not something you see too often, so definitely a big step up from Random there to assert that mechanical dominance, show off that ability and pick up as many goals as they did. Westmont, though, is the team that we need to watch, as it's, like I said before, it's a matter of them cleaning up those rotations. We see their gaps in defense are very costly, allowing Winbur to score all of the goals that they do. So Westmont, they need a bit of a tighter rotation on defense. They can't afford to space out as much as they do because those gaps are always going to be taken advantage of by Winbur.
Yeah, and one thing, if I was Westmont, I would notice is that in that first game, Not Wyatt had less than 10 touches. In game number 2, Not Wyatt had 8 touches. So it's really been all Random and Nightmare on this attacking side for Winbur. I think Westmont needs to try to put a car or a body on one of those players, start demoing them more, start bumping them more, try to take them out of the equation, try to force Wyatt into the equation a little bit, and see if they can get Winbur out of their normal play style.
And we very well could see that mental game come into question for Westmont. Maybe they don't have the exact same mechanical ability as Winbur, but they could play that mental game and try and completely negate that mechanical advantage that Winbur has. There are a lot of opportunities for Westmont, a lot of different routes to take when you're in this situation. It's just going to be a matter of which one they choose to go through with, which one they decide will be best for them. And we'll have a 5-minute timer to see just that. We'll see what exactly is in store, as it's a matter of Westmont. It's a matter of seeing what exactly Westmont wants to do about this. Winbur, they have a very confident looking play style. There's no reason for them to change it. You take the 3-0 win, you take the game 2, which, we don't have to talk about game number 2 for the sake of Westmont, but now we'll have to see exactly what Westmont has in store here in this game number 3.
Yeah, just Random and Nightmare just shaking and baking out there. I mean, really just a really good tag team. So I think, Westmont certainly has to find an answer for them. But again, I think it's going to be very, very tough for them. Wimber right now playing their game, obviously feeling very, very comfortable. As we had mentioned, that confidence just exuberating out on the pitch.
And a very confident game from Winber, as it would go to show that they're feeling good. They're feeling like they have the ability to do just about whatever they would like. And I think Winber at this point, it's just continuing where they left off. They've looked confident all the way up to this point. They need to find just 5 more minutes of that confidence in order to set themselves ahead.
All right, well, we'll see if they can extend the longevity of this series here. Game number 3. Westmont looking to hang on to that playoff run. Winber certainly looking to secure theirs as we settle into play here. 30 seconds already off the clock, and now Nightmare on the attack has Wyatt there as well. The shot from Random, and nobody is back here for Westmont as Winber comes out with an early lead, and maybe a bit of a connectivity issue. It does look like we lost King Foxy Gamer there.
Bit of a connectivity issue. Hopefully that will get sorted out for the players, but we'll see what exactly happens as Winber. They're going to be playing at a bit of a bit of a disadvantage, I guess, but I don't think, or yeah, we'll see what exactly happens. King Foxy disconnecting, not in the lobby, but I believe it did get sorted out. I believe we are getting a substitute, if I'm not mistaken, on the side of Westmont.
All right, so a little tag in, tag out. Royal Adventure stepping in there as well, and I know I've seen King Foxy Gamer in some of the other games as well. I know they have a coaching role between this, Valorant, and Overwatch. So probably very, very busy, able to get that sub in here, Royal Adventure. And we'll see if maybe with this change, I know it's a little late in the series. It can be tough to kind of get that team chemistry with that game style on par. But we'll see if Royal Adventure can come up with something crazy here for Westmont Hilltop.
We'll see if this substitute role is for the sake of trying to bring the series back, or even if it's just to give Royal Adventurer a bit of experience playing. But only time will be able to tell. Winber, they still have that advantage, so not much changing up to this point, but it's definitely not the scoreline that we saw in the previous game. Winber, by this point, had a much greater advantage in game number 2 than they do now, so Westmont, just based on that statistic alone, they're doing better. It seems like they're getting to these challenges a little bit quicker. They're making Winber's job a little bit more difficult, but it's going to take more than that. They need to start pressing that ball farther into that Winber half and start finding some goals as early as possible.
Yeah, unfortunately now stuck into their corner, a bit of a double commit as well. Nightmare just relentless on this pressure. We see him circling out, looking for another opportunity as well, and they are just hungry for more goals. Up by 2, and Random with a tag team, a nice shot, an even better save from Royal here as they look to pressure out. No boost again, though. The consumption not there as Random's now on another attack again, and this relentless Winber just being a firing squad out here, peppering shot after shot. It's only a matter of time before they find another goal if Westmont can't find some breathing room here.
Westmont, they get the ball down the pitch, but no immediately threatening opportunities against Winber, so they're going to have to play it out of their own half yet again, see what they're able to formulate. But Winber, they're just going for these quick challenges, intercepting Westmont's potential possessions and preventing Westmont from really creating any opportunities of their own, which has been the story this series. It's Winber just preventing Westmont from playing how they would like to. The roles need to be flipped for the sake of Westmont, and it needs to flip soon as we look to enter the final 2 minutes of Rocket League here. Winber, they're still up 2-0. They're looking comfortable here, but not nearly as comfortable as the previous games. Westmont's still in this. They just need to find something soon and get that ball rolling in their favor.
Yeah, again, the pressure from Winber has just been so aggressive here, and it seems like they can't really find room to get the space. We see him kind of circling on those rotations, but again, coagulating together, bit of double commit as well. Now CISO into the corner looking for some breathing room, but it's Random who again grabs the boost, and Winber not only doing a great job with that boost, but really starving Westmont from getting any boost of their own. Another double commit from Westmont as we see them bumping into each other. Now the counterattack from Nightmare. One defender to beat. The flick over the head. Not quite there. C-Cell with the stop. One more from Random. And now Westmont doing a little bit better of these rotations, circling out from that net. We'll see if they can carry it forward and try to find a goal here. Only a minute left to do so.
Only a minute left to do so. We'll see exactly what Westmont have in store for their final drive, for these final moments for them to prove themselves in this series and in league play. They need a win to stay alive, and they haven't quite been able to get closer to it than they have found themselves. So it's a battle against themselves. Potential goal opportunity, but it doesn't see its way through. The follow-up wide as well. That was a must-score opportunity for Westmont. Unfortunately for them, though, 2 shots into the post will not give them any score going into this game.
And unfortunately, just in too many of these games, I've seen too many red cars bumping into other red cars, and you just unfortunately can't have it. You've had missed opportunities both on goals. You've let goals slip by as well. Fortunate for them, I mean, we see a nice goal here from Royal and C-Cell combo together, but again, they find this goal. Only 12 seconds left. Can they find the equalizer? Is it possible? Certainly, but it can be very tough to do with such little time.
Such little time. They need to get something going soon, and they need the ball in the opposite direction. Ty Hall alone on defense, trying to get it around, does so. It's an opening opportunity. They just have to get it on target. They do. In the last 12 seconds, they take that 2-goal deficit and tie it up. 1 second on the clock. It's likely that we go into overtime here. It seems like Westmont, they're holding on by a thread here. They're trying to extend the series as much as they can.
Not impossible. We thought highly unlikely, but in true caster tradition, they love to prove me wrong. Our second overtime of the night, and a great job from Westmont here to really make some proper adjustments, battle back in game number 3. But you got to wonder if it is too little too late to consistently have to do this for a couple more games as well. Can be very tough. They had an opportunity knocking at the door to win this one in overtime here. Now C-Cell looking to carry it in, but it is Nightmare on that counterattack. And again, I don't know if it's just a change through Royal or if they've really kind of settled into a different gameplay, but Westmont's certainly looking like a different team than we saw in those first couple games.
I think Royal at least has inspired some change. Is the change directly derived from Royal's play style? Maybe, maybe not. But what we can see is that Royal steps in and they start playing a little bit more favorably for their sake. Unfortunately for them, that save is not going to cut it. And Winber, they're going to walk away with a win in overtime. Very well fought from Westmont, but they just couldn't put the pieces together quick enough to really hone in on a play style with Royal that could get them that win.
Yeah, you know, and hopefully they had a lot of fun throughout the season. I know it can be tough when you don't get any wins, but honestly, it's a lot of fun to play in things like this, and there's a lot of growth to be had as well. You can go back and watch some of these VODs, and you know, hopefully it inspires some of these players to just do that much better next year. Certainly a lot of talented individuals out there on Westmont Hilltop. Unfortunately for them, it is Winber who takes the win today and secures that playoff seed. So Winber has to be happy with that. They will be sneaking into the playoffs there as well as we wait to get some of these more, these undefeated teams underway. I know this next couple games, we have 2 undefeated teams here. So
the undefeated teams needing to play their matches to see if they can remain undefeated. Definitely very possible. They should be very exciting matches, but just to conclude this series, you know, you have the battle of the W's, Winber and Westmont. Very close at the end there with a step up from Royal. And it's a shame to see that they weren't able, for their sake, to come out with that game win, especially sending it into overtime, 2 goals with only 12 seconds left on the clock. A big step up from them, but it just wasn't enough. That overtime own goal, a bit unfortunate for Westmont, but it is good to see that they are getting that experience. And you mentioned they can look back at this and get some takeaways, you know, watch the film, get some good ideas of where you're lacking, and then really start to hone in on a potential play style if they want to keep this roster competing, keep it going, and hopefully for their sake, they're able to find more opportunities to compete together, because especially when you're in high school, experiences like this are extremely valuable as a player.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. But yeah, Penn Trafford 4-1 coming up here. We have Greater Altoona 5-0. So I think this next series is certainly going to be a banger. Can Penn Trafford take a game away from Greater Altoona, give them their first loss on the season? I know Greater Altoona, like Forest Hills, wanting to cement that top seed position. So we've got more action coming up, guys. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have Penn Trafford versus Greater Altoona CTC. All right, everyone. We are back this time with Penn Trafford 4-1 taking on Greater Altoona, one of two undefeated teams remaining here. So I think this is probably going to be our most exciting series of the night, hopefully. Still in the booth here with me, the legend Jay. How we doing, brother?
We're doing good. Very excited to see this one unfold as we could see Greater Altoona falter and get their first loss of the season. It'll definitely be maybe their toughest challenge thus far against Penn Trafford, a team that has been performing very well. Not quite undefeated, but they're about as close as it gets without quite being there. So Penn Trafford definitely going to be a challenge for Greater Altoona. Greater Altoona still a phenomenal team though, so could very easily see them continuing that dominance and looking to walk away undefeated in league play.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with you. I think at least for Greater Altoona, this is probably their toughest match, at least on paper, that they've gone up against. Obviously, Greater Altoona Forest Hill is not going to be meeting in the regular season, these two undefeated teams. So I think Penn Trafford's certainly going to be their toughest test to date. But as you mentioned, Greater Altoona has a solid squad. We've seen time and time again. I mean, they play consistently well all three games of every series, really sweeping almost every team they've met as well. So phenomenal rotations. You name it, they tend to have it. So certainly looking to see if they can put that on display today, or if Penn Trafford, we say give them the upset, but 4-1, certainly a very talented team as well.
It's two very this is a clash of titans essentially. We don't get to see the other clash that I know some people were waiting for, which would be Greater Altoona versus Forest Hills, but this could still very easily be one of it's an alternative. It's a good look to see. We have Penn Trafford in the yellow, Greater Altoona represented in that blue, and we'll see what exactly these players have in store for us here, because this matchup might be a bit of a change of pace from the other ones. We've seen two sweeps thus far. This one could very easily be a bit better. Rye's gonna strike first. Penn Trafford, top corner, down and in. Penn Trafford, they're gonna start off this game with a banger.
Yeah, what a beautiful pass play as well. The team comms coming in there, and Rye just a nice rip from midfield. Really has some power on that one. To go up 1-0 within the first 30 seconds against an undefeated team has to give you a little bit of confidence as well. You have to, it starts you off certainly with a great feeling.
And a good start for Penn Trafford. Exactly what they want in this one, but Steele's going to have an immediate response. Tie it right back up. Not let Penn Trafford get too confident, not let them get too much momentum. Another great shot. You see the placement right under the bar. It really goes to show why these players are where they are currently in league play. They're showing that confidence that they have, that ability that they have, and they're showing it when it matters the most.
Yeah, we see an early demo coming out there from PT Cruiser, but still on that attack yet again across midfield. They got to be careful here as Mr. May with the splash puts it right on in, and now up by 1, 4:05. And really just 55 seconds into the game, we've already got 3 goals from these two talented teams.
Steele almost just hit a corner double tap, which is not something that you see often by any means, and bring that one out in league play. Why not? Very close. The follow-up good, though. Greater Altoona, they had to play from that deficit of 1 goal, and now they find themselves in a lead of 1. So a quick turn of the tide about as quickly as it does get Greater Altoona. They're just looking to pick up yet another win. Penn Trafford, for them, they already qualify. It's just a matter of bragging rights. It's also a matter of seeding. Because Penn Trafford, if they win this game, they could find themselves in a much higher spot. They'd actually be tied with Greater Altoona. But Greater Altoona, they're looking to stay undefeated, looking to stay in contention for that very first seed, give themselves as big of an advantage as possible going into those playoffs.
Oh my, on a near miss here from PT Cruiser as well, just barely hitting that post that doesn't take the bounce they need. And, well, Greater Altoona dodging a bullet there as Burb looks to settle this one down, carry out Mr. Chimp, though. There with the 50, doesn't go either direction, really. As Steele up top, looks to carry across midfield and does just that as Mr. May. Now, with the attack again, into the corner, trying to keep all this pressure down on that Penn Trafford side, and certainly doing a good job of that so far.
And we see Greater Altoona, they have that 1 goal lead. 1 goal is usually not enough, so why not make it 2? Almost finds a flick over Rye, but no good up to this point. Mr. Med drop down, save from Burb, and we see Penn Trafford, they're holding that defensive line, trying to prevent Greater Altoona from getting that insurance goal, getting that extended lead. Greater Altoona, you can see how badly they want it, though. It's a barrage of shots on that yellow net, just trying to get it back through. Risky touch on defense from PT, but does find its way to the corner pickup from Rye, trying to get it down the pitch. But again, Greater Altoona's presence in the midfield is showing to be so strong and is proving to be their best weapon here against Penn Trafford.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a hailstorm of shots down there on that Penn Trafford goal, but they find a little bit of breathing room here as Burb looks to pressure on. Chimp has a touch over to Steele, and really right now they've been great positioning from this Greater Altoona team. PT up over the top, can't carry this one in as Chimp finds the save. The pressure continuing into the corner. Burb across here, a nice cross of pass, but again, the defense is there as they try to find the shot on goal, and PT will look to carry this one back in. Chimp with a big demo, though, help creating some more space on this offensive attack. And you see Chimp downfield finding another demo. Fortunately for Penn Trafford, they are able to save this one, and now on the counterattack, just past that 90-second mark here, we're looking for the equalizer.
Penn Trafford, their defense is looking good, but you can't find that equalizing goal if you're playing a good defense. You need to start getting that ball down the pitch, start converting those defensive stands into proper counterattacks against Greater Altoona. Could start here. The 1-2 pass sends it all the way down the pitch, but an immediate answer from Mr. Chimp jumping so early, just getting that ball as far away from their net, that Greater Altoona net, as possible. You see Greater Altoona able to take their defensive stands and convert them to counterattacks, something that Penn Trafford, they're not quite lacking by any means, but Greater Altoona is definitely the dominant team when it comes to those conversions. So final 40 here, we see Penn Trafford having to make a defensive stand. Now is their time to start converting into those offensive opportunities. They have 30 seconds remaining, only a 1-goal deficit, still very possible for them. They just need something to set them ahead.
Ooh, I thought PT was about to get it right there, but Mr. May able to get back in time and find the stop. Now on the counterattack, 20 on the clock. Maybe one more opportunity sitting in the bank here for Penn Trafford, and they're going to have to find it soon as they are down by 1. May puts a shot on goal. Not a lot of power, though, and PT will carry out. Steele is waiting there. The touch high and dry, looking for the flip reset off the top crossbar. Chimp, second chance opportunity, knocking at the door. Not quite there, though, and the ball will fall. Greater Altoona will take game number 1, but Penn Trafford, I mean, they came out strong. They played very, very well, especially in those opening minutes, but in the end, it was Greater Altoona that took it away, and really just slightly more on that ball possession. But again, if you look at the field domination, they're 70-30. Greater Altoona really keeping it down, keeping that offensive attack going. And I think that was the big difference maker here.
Greater Altoona looking very confident, looking good in this series. They'll take that initial advantage. They only need to do it 2 more times. Penn Trafford, now it's a matter of trying to prevent Greater Altoona from continuing gaining that momentum. Now's a great time for Penn Trafford to step up. Game 1, close loss. Game number 2, if you can take it here, equalize the series, make it an effective best of 3. That would be ideal for Penn Trafford. They don't want to get a reverse sweep against a team that's undefeated in the league. So now's the time for Penn Trafford to step up. With how close that game was, it's very possible. It's not out of question by any means for Penn Trafford. It's just a matter of converting on those defensive stands. They show that their defense can hold very strong, but when it comes to getting that ball out of your own half into that midfield and then into that opposing third, that's the part that Greater Altoona had them beat in. That's the part that Penn Trafford needs to step up in order to get more of those goals to give themselves a better chance of winning.
They certainly have the ability to score first. I mean, we saw Penn Trafford get out there and get that first goal as well. But, I think Greater Altoona was the faster team. We saw them really dominate the field. So I think being that faster team, that more aggressive team, certainly they tend to come out on top. So I'd like to see Penn Trafford kind of match that pace as well and just try to get up to the ball before they do. Greater Altoona, really a phenomenal team in the air.
Greater Altoona they're mechanical savants, if you will. They look great. I saw Steele go for not 1 but 2 corner double taps, and you rarely see players go for one of those. Steele almost hitting both of them, hitting the near post on both. Getting to that ball a little bit later for Steele would lead to a fantastic highlight, and well, we see the bar down dropping in. I talk about Steele's highlights. One will finally find the back of the net. What a drop down to start this game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, just the mechanical skill of everybody out on the field, but especially this Greater Altoona team is ridiculous, and certainly putting on a great showcase there with the first 5 seconds. And consistency, as we often say, is key. Can Penn Trafford start to battle back? And they answer here within the first 10 seconds. And This is just, I knew this was going to be a banger of a series, but this is just already surpassing my expectations.
PT showing that, a goal's a goal. It doesn't matter how flashy it is. It only counts for 1 point. 10 seconds in, we see the highlight goal, and then just a quick response, just a good midfield challenge going favorable for Penn Trafford. Now the game is immediately back to level. It's almost like a regular game of Rocket League. We just missed 10 seconds somewhere. Don't know where those went, but they've came and they've gone. And now we'll see what team is able to step forward. Mr. Men now getting their name on the board, finds another goal here for Greater Altoona. We're just seeing the shootout right now here in game 2.
Yeah, and just look at the speed there. I mean, there's still 2 defenders there, and Mr. May able to take it around the world through the corner, splash it on in. And we talked about the speed of this Greater Altoona team. They're just that much quicker to the ball, and I think that's why they had so much field domination, ball possession as well. They're just so much quicker to the ball, the boost consumption as well. They did a great job of utilizing that, making sure they're never on empty. So right now, Greater Altoona, just the slightly better team. Again, if Penn Trafford can work on this aggression and capitalize on these minor mistakes, they can definitely take game number 2 here. I mean, we've got 3 goals in and not even a minute off the clock.
Just a good back and forth favoring Greater Altoona, which kind of goes to show Penn Trafford, they're the team that needs to step up, as Greater Altoona, they're showing that they can cement themselves as the better team, sure, but there's still plenty of time to go for Penn Trafford to prove that they are in contention. They're keeping it very close, but Greater Altoona is the team to look out for here as they pick up a third. Every single player now in Greater Altoona on the board, so good to see for their sake that everyone's getting involved. It's not a strict role rotation. You see everyone doing their part, every single person with a goal now, and every single person on Penn Trafford, they need to start looking at how they can get past the Greater Altoona midfield, start getting some goals, because right now it is just the Altoona show.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Chimp has a goal without even shooting any shots, so certainly working his magic there. But again, right now we see how aggressive this Greater Altoona team is, really controlling the possession. The flip reset as well from Steele. The razzle-dazzle coming in, and you'll see it here one more time, and really just making it look so easy. Nobody coming up to kind of contest the ball as well, just allowing Steele to ride that one in.
Steele, just throw a second highlight in there for fun, I guess. Why not? You might as well if you have the capabilities to do so, and doing it on the when it matters most, in the middle of an important matchup, to try and stay undefeated in the season, showing why Greater Altoona is undefeated currently, and now they find themselves with a bigger advantage than they could have asked for. Last game was so close, only a 1-goal deficit at the end, but this time we see, it was a 1 or 2 at the end of next game, that deficit. Still very close. Now we already see 3 with just under 3 minutes on the clock remaining. So Greater Altoona definitely a step up from game number 1, sinking in more of these opportunities, dancing around that Penn Trafford defense. Penn Trafford now, they need to start looking at how they can get to those Greater Altoona possessions a bit earlier, see what they can do. That's going to be a good start going into the second half. Rye picking one up and bringing the game that much closer.
Yeah, just a phenomenal shot here as well. A nice touch to find the back of the net. And, we talked about Penn Trafford needing to come out and win game number 2 to really kind of set the tone and the pace here for the series. Greater Altoona, though, doing exactly what they need to do, coming out with demanding an outstanding performance here, really trying to change things up and just let them know, hey, we're trying to sweep this series and take this one. Mr. May, again, off the demo to pass from Steele, putting it together 5-2, and really starting to run away with game number 2.
And that is a great example of the midfield presence from Greater Altoona. You see the defending player on Penn Trafford going for a clear, and then there was a player from Greater Altoona already positioned for that exact clear, and they're able to just chip the ball in. And that midfield presence is what's making it really hard for Penn Trafford. You see, every time they go for a clear, there's always someone from Greater Altoona there waiting for their opportunity to go for the ball, waiting for Penn Trafford to give the ball to them. And it's nothing against Penn Trafford. It's just like Greater Altoona is positioning flawlessly. They are everywhere right now. Everywhere that Penn Trafford wants to put the ball, there's someone there from Greater Altoona to intercept it. So now we see Penn Trafford find themselves at a big disadvantage. For their sake, I think now, with only 2 minutes remaining, now's the time where you get a bit experimental. Try and be a bit more unpredictable and see what Greater Altoona does in response to that.
Yeah, and Greater Altoona always looking for those plays after touch. I mean, we see Mr. Chimp, nice pass to the center, right in front of the goal, but after he does that, he finds the demo on the goalie as well. So, again, just finding these extra plays after the touches as well, going the extra mile right now, and Greater Altoona showing you why they're one of these undefeated teams, these top 2 seeds as well. And again, there's Steele with another demo in that goal. Mr. Chimp trying to apply pressure, Steele again. And this Greater Altoona team is relentless, looking absolutely unstoppable out here in game number 2.
Greater Altoona, I know I said it before, but now I think it's a better time to say it. A big step up from game number 1. They look good, but now they just look unstoppable. 7-2 with a minute 30 remaining, 90 seconds for Penn Trafford to get something going in their favor if they're going to try and get a reverse sweep. They need something to go their way, some positive outlook in order to try and find a way to surmount 15 minutes of advantageous Rocket League for those players in yellow. Greater Altoona, they're showing very little flaw. The ball rarely gets into that Greater Altoona half like we see it right now, a rare occurrence, and normally it's past that midfield line deep in the yellow half. It's just Penn Trafford trying to get that ball as far away from their net as possible. Greater Altoona, however, they're positioning themselves perfectly to prevent Penn Trafford from doing that. You see the constant amount of shots just hitting on the backboard. Double tap will go in. Greater Altoona, they're going to pick up their 8th here. They're looking unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so fast in the rotations as well. Mr. Chimp immediately getting out of the way. We see Steele with the second and third chance opportunities there as well. Again, just being that quicker team, the boost consumption, the field possession, domination, they really have it all here in game number 2. They're just so quick to get up and get to that ball, and it's really just leaving Penn Trafford playing nothing but defense. They do a great job on offense. They just haven't had that many opportunities down here on the side of the field. We see Rye, when they do get these chances, these breakaway opportunities, more often than not, they capitalize. They put the ball in the back of the net. Unfortunately for them, they just have trouble getting on that side of the field.
And I think that goal specifically is a good example of Greater Altoona. They realize that this game is decided. They're just trying to play hyper aggressive, just try and get in the heads of Penn Trafford, and they falter to the point where Penn Trafford, they cut the deficit from 6 to 5. It's not a prime example of what Penn Trafford can do against Greater Altoona, because it's just Greater Altoona getting a little bit too confident. Penn Trafford, although, I say that to say Penn Trafford definitely have shown that they can force mistakes out of Greater Altoona. I just think for the sake of seeing what works and what doesn't, that specific goal is not the best example. And now we need to see those forced mistakes come out here in game number 3. Greater Altoona, they're going to have a lot of confidence, so Penn Trafford, they just need to catch Greater Altoona a little bit overcommitted, a little bit too far up the field, a little bit too confident like we saw at the end there. If they can get an early lead, then Penn Trafford can start to play against this standardized Greater Altoona that's okay. They're not super confident anymore. They're playing from a deficit, but then they lock in, and that's when Penn Trafford really needs to step up. Not necessarily that first goal, but whenever Greater Altoona, if Penn Trafford are able to take an early lead, whenever they change that play style to dial it back in, that's when Penn Trafford really needs to strike, and they're only going to have one more opportunity to do it here in game number 3.
Yeah, I mean, field domination there was split right down the middle, 50-50, but the boost was almost doubled for Greater Altoona. We saw 15 shots for Greater Altoona as well, and really they're just maintaining that possession. It was 70-30 roughly on the possession as well. So maintaining possession of the ball on that side of the field, relentless with the shots as well, and I think Penn Trafford is just having a tough time keeping up with this incredibly fast pace of Greater Altoona.
And it's just a matter of staying calm on defense. Don't overcommit too much on offense to the point where you have to scramble back and try and make a heroic diving save. Space out a little bit more, slow it down a little bit, and try and position yourself similar to what Greater Altoona is doing. It's a good example. Position yourselves to prepare. Don't position yourselves to have to predict what they're doing. Get a good idea of what they're trying to do early on and position yourself early. That way you're not having to make frantic rotations back. And, well, we'll see Penn Trafford actually picking up the first goal here. And now is when that scenario that I was mentioning before, it could very easily play out where now that Penn Trafford have that lead, we could see Greater Altoona trying to play a bit more serious and lock in a bit more. And now is when Penn Trafford can catch them, is in that transitional phase.
Yeah, I mean, one goal here, 5 seconds, so I think Greater Altoona is going to stick to that gameplay that's been working for them. They have great aggression, phenomenal pass plays. We already see Steele down there creating a lot of pressure, buying or drawing out that double commit from Penn Trafford as well. But now on the counterattack is Burb looking to find one more. Can they get the cushion across the net here as Rye goes up, finds the touch, but Chimp on the defense already there and now looking for more across midfield. Will look to settle this one down. Has help from Steele as well. Most likely Steele looking to pressure this one right in front of the net here for the teammate Chimp. Now one more. Mr. Man fires. Good rotations coming out from Penn Trafford and some nice stops on defense here. Need to get that ball out though and find more offensive attacks here early.
We see Greater Altoona driving in. They just can't get that accuracy down. They're going to leave that offensive drive scoreless, and now Penn Trafford looking to get that ball down the pitch. They do so, but cleared a little bit too far away from anyone in order to maintain possession. So Greater Altoona going to send it right back into that Penn Trafford half. The difference being Greater Altoona has the bodies behind the ball, the cars, in order to back up those clears, in order to maintain possession for as long as possible, prevent Penn Trafford from getting those really quick clears. And we see there, Penn Trafford, they're starting to challenge a bit earlier in the midfield. They're preventing Greater Altoona from playing like they want. So we might see a change from Greater Altoona, just a slight one, and try and play that closer game. Don't just send the ball in the air and go for those heroic, flashy plays. Maybe go for a bit of that close gameplay and keep that ball as close to your car as possible. That way, on these quicker challenges that we're seeing out of Penn Trafford, Greater Altoona can tee themselves up for some favorable challenges in order to just brute force the ball through the defenders.
We'll see if they can kind of channel that in here as Steele looks to settle down. Chimp can't quite find the touch here at midfield as well. And now on the attack, though, May across the front of the net on a subtle touch from Chimp to throw it on in. They find the equalizer here at 2:51. And now Greater Altoona looking to answer back. Can Penn Trafford, though, stifle them and look to push forward?
Now the eyes are back on Penn Trafford. See how they play from level. They got that early goal off of that initial kickoff as the favorable setup definitely helped them. But now it's a matter of playing a regular game, and it seems as if Greater Altoona is going to get a kickoff advantage of their own. Immediately off the kickoff, driving that ball from their own corner all the way down the pitch, catching the gap in rotation from Penn Trafford. And now, lo and behold, we see Greater Altoona take the lead. So now we'll have to see if Penn Trafford are going to be able to play from a deficit. That's kind of been their kryptonite. Penn Trafford hasn't really found an answer for a deficit. It's just they keep it close for a while, and Greater Altoona, whenever they step up, they start to run away with it.
Yeah, and I think that's where we talk about consistency being key. They're just so consistently good, consistently fast as well, and they just stick to their game plan. They know what works for them. You know, even if a team comes out, gets an early lead, finds an early goal, they don't really let it fluster them. They just, again, stick to their game plan, do what works for them, and they execute it very, very well as well. I mean, the team chemistry here from this squad of three has been absolutely phenomenal throughout the entirety of the season so far.
Definitely a good looking Greater Altoona. I think that is very clear. But Penn Trafford a bit up and down. In their highs, it seems like they can compete with Greater Altoona, but the issue is that they're not always in that high. They're not necessarily inconsistent. It's not a major fluctuation, but it's fluctuating enough to where they can't find a consistent advantage against Greater Altoona, a team that does not falter much. So it's a matter of Penn Trafford getting that consistency that they want and that they need to beat teams like Greater Altoona, although a big thing to keep in mind is that both of these teams have secured their spot in playoffs, so they will have themselves a bit of time to prepare. And I think Penn Trafford, the team that has a bit more to talk about going into playoffs, they know what works against Greater Altoona, they know what doesn't. It's a matter of seeing, in the event that this matchup does happen again in that bracket, which it very well could, it's a matter of seeing exactly how they want to approach it again. But they're going to keep it close here in this initial matchup as they find one answer, and with just over a minute on the clock, almost a minute and a half, they need to find one more to tie it up.
Yeah, I mean, just a great job there by Rye to follow through. We saw Mr. Chimp trying to bang it off the backboard, but the touch doesn't go their way. Kind of sets up a nice, easy play for Penn Trafford. And now, still in this one, I've seen a lot more demos here in this game from Penn Trafford as well. And I think that's, again, kind of helped creating some of that space. I think the biggest problem with a team like Greater Altoona is, I mean, they're obviously very evenly matched here, but the biggest problem with a team like Greater Altoona is if you make a small or simple mistake, Greater Altoona is capitalizing on it almost every time. They don't let these opportunities slip by. We see Steele with another one there, now putting them up by 2. And again, they got to find a way to make Greater Altoona miss. And right now, they just are not doing that.
They're trying to wait for a mistake instead of creating them themselves, I think, is the big thing. Penn Trafford are playing a very textbook game. They're not doing anything too crazy, but at some point you have to be able to step up. You have to be able to get creative and find something that your opponents are not expecting, which we haven't seen too much of. And Greater Altoona, they're not much of a team to make mistakes naturally. They will just dance down the field. They do pick up their 5th here, and in a game that was at one point very close back and forth, it looks like Greater Altoona is looking to pick up where they left off and just start running away. But Penn Trafford, it's that creativity, that wow factor that they need in order to get through their opponents, or in the sake of Burb, your ability to just brute force the ball through the defender. That's another option, is just relying on your challenge game, and it seems like Greater Altoona wins the majority of the challenges they go for. That's just an example of Penn Trafford getting an advantageous one and finding the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, 29 on the clock. Again, not one of those impossible feats, but certainly very, very tough to do, especially against a team like Greater Altoona. Steele putting a demo onto the car there. Mr. May up top, looks for the double tap, and Steele again fires a shot. And we talk about all these second, third, fourth chance opportunities, and we see it here again. You're going to see it in the replay. Shot after shot after shot, and Penn Trafford just can't find a way to get it out. From Steele twice to May here, putting it in the net, and just like that, most likely the nail in the coffin there.
Definitely with that advantage for Greater Altoona, they are teed up to walk away with it here, as we see the final seconds tick down, and Penn Trafford, they have a lot on their plate, but I think at the end of the day, Penn Trafford, they're going to walk away with a lot to look at. This is only their 2nd loss of the season, so they've shown that they can hang with the Titans here. It's just a matter of honing in that play style for these matchups against teams like Greater Altoona. Teams like Forest Hills is the big thing for them. They can do well against the midfield teams, but once you start getting towards the top, that's when Penn Trafford needs to look at this game, see what they can take away, and see what they can do moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Greater Altoona, again, just the ball possession in their favor, the field domination in their favor, the boost consumption 2,000 to 3,000 more as well. So really just controlling the pace of the game, doing a phenomenal job. Greater Altoona remaining undefeated and in that top position. We've got one more phenomenal game coming up today. Certainly going to be a tough one for Bishop Carroll, but we'll see if they can pull up the upset or if Forest Hills will remain to be the second and only other team to remain undefeated. Guys, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll have Bishop Carroll taking on Forest Hills. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tech High School Series Division One, and we've got the final game of the day, the final game of the regular season as well. Bishop Carroll 1-4, and they certainly have a tough game ahead of them here. Forest Hills 5-0 with the legendary Pig B on the squad as well. Jay, I mean, what do you think about this one?
Well, you know, we've had 3 sweeps up to this point. I think it would be criminal for me to bet against the trend that we're seeing. You know, you take Forest Hills, which is undefeated. Bishop Carroll, not quite the league play that they might have wanted. They're almost at the midfield, so nothing too bad from them. Definitely qualifying for playoffs, so a good team nonetheless. But Forest Hills, they have just shown their dominance, and I very easily see Forest Hills walking away with this one pretty confidently.
Yeah, I mean, they've really just dominated time and time again, week in and week out through these first 5 games as well. So, they have a solid squad. I know we talk about Pigby a lot, top 100 player, SSL as well, but they really have a whole solid squad as well, 2 other phenomenal members. So I think that, it's going to be a incredibly tough series for Bishop Carroll. Maybe they could do something crazy. I always love rooting for an underdog. So certainly I would love to see him, take a game away from Forest Hills. But, in true to the fashion of the day, I think most likely we will see a Forest Hills sweep here.
And it's just a matter of how Forest Hills are playing today. If they're up to snuff, they should be okay. But maybe Bishop Carroll has had some revitalizations that might make them a tougher opponent than it shows on paper. But we'll see. It's only a matter of time. We'll let the players prove themselves. Let the players see what exactly they have in store. Forest Hills, definitely the favorites coming into this. I think most people know that looking at the standings currently. It's hard to bet against the undefeated team, especially the longer that the season goes on. And we're at the end of regular season, and Forest Hills still one of 2 undefeated teams. They're trying to stay up there with Greater Altoona. So we'll see if they're able to accomplish such a feat. Greater Altoona already did their part at staying undefeated. Now it's Forest Hills' turn.
All right, well, we got them out here on the pitch. The time ticking away. Game number 1 underway as well. And the ball down here on the Bishop Carroll side already. We can see Pigby on the attack, bouncing off the ceiling as well. We're going to see Pigby all over the place, most likely, giving you hail. The Mega Blaziken, certainly great additions to the team as well. Blaziken, look at the pressure out, doesn't find the touch there, is giving you hell. Will carry on, and now again, Bishop on the back pedal. Forest Hills on the attack, and they'll fire and grab the first goal here, just 26 seconds off the clock.
Very hot start here for Forest Hills. They'll sink that first one in. Pigby, who else to find that first goal? 26 seconds in, Forest Hills will take the advantage. We'll see if they're able to extend that with any sort of follow-up. It's always good to find those extensions, as a 1-goal lead is good. A lead is a lead, but having a 2-goal lead gives you that insurance. It gives you that ability to make a mistake and still have that lead. So Forest Hills by no means can get content here. Their work is just now beginning, but Bishop Carroll, the team that has a bit more work to do, as Mega Blaziken will get the follow-up. Forest Hills extend their lead to 2. They get that insurance goal, and they're already looking phenomenal here.
Yeah, again, they're going to be relentless on this pressure. We already see the phenomenal aerial control that they have. The pass plays are going to be there. Pigby with a goal and an assist already as well. The Mega Blaziken finding a goal, and certainly here's more to come as Pigby firing a shot. Italian, though, finding a nice stop here. But unfortunately for Bishop Carroll, it's been all defensive for them. And as you know, you got to find at least a goal to win a game. And certainly they're going to need 3 at this point.
And Bishop Carroll, a big task ahead of them, especially against a team like Forest Hills, who is just looking to get in the heads of Bishop Carroll. They find themselves the lead, and they're just looking to extend it, make it that much more difficult for Bishop Carroll. Pigby, another goal, finding the back of the net, looking to do just that. A great start from them. Already scoring 3, not necessarily needing to take time to warm up. They're just coming out the gates running.
Yeah, and even though that shot didn't look very fancy, that's actually a tough shot. There's 2 defenders coming up in his face there, getting up high and quick, but still able to put a downward angle on that ball as well. And just, again, a phenomenal job by them to redirect there. It really shows you what kind of skills they have, and Pigby already peppering another shot against the goal here. Again, Bishop Carroll's going to have a tough time, especially as they remain just kind of stuck in this defensive position.
And we'll see what exactly Forest Hills can continue here. It almost makes me concerned if this is them warming up, what they might have in store as the series goes on. And Bishop Carroll, are they warming up? It's a big question. You don't know what potential these teams are playing at. You don't know if they've been playing for a while, or if these teams are just hopping on. That is one thing that we do see in these matches, because a big thing to keep in mind, these players are just playing at their schools. They're not even playing from home. They're playing in their computer labs or wherever they have access to desktop computers on their high school campus in their school. So these players could very easily just be getting out of class, hopping on Rocket League, which something that I wish I could say I used to do in high school, but you know, I have to make the drive home before I got to do that. So definitely a fantastic opportunity that these players are given by TEC. Do love to see the esports scene growing for these players, especially at this age, knowing that Rocket League, a lot of the top players, they come from that lower age demographic. So the fact that these players are getting more and more experiences that are supported for that lower age is phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I'm sad that there wasn't more available like this when I was younger or in school, but certainly incredibly happy that they're making all of this possible for these high school students, because honestly, it creates a lot of opportunities, and there's a lot of great college scholarship opportunities and various things that can be taken away from this as well. So certainly hats off to the TEC High School group for making this all possible. And you know, hats off to both the teams out here. Bishop Carroll, they know they have a tough task ahead of them here today, but they still have that fight, that determination. They're not out here giving up. They're fighting through to the end. We see them really just driving, really hungry to find that goal. Unfortunately, right now, Forest Hills has done a great job of controlling Pig B, consistent with those flip resets, the shots being peppered left and right here as Pig B looks for the top upper post here, but won't find it. Again, relentless on the attack, though. It's been all offense here for Forest Hills, and unfortunately, pretty much all defense for Bishop Carroll.
Forest Hills, a good start when it comes to that field positioning, like you mentioned. They always have that ball deep in the Bishop Carroll half, which, you know, if you keep the ball as far in your opponent's half as possible, you don't have to worry too much about conceding goals. You see Bishop Carroll on a couple breakout opportunities. They're building the confidence, I think, is the big thing. You know, it's just game number one. It's still very early. Bishop Carroll, they are just trying to get acclimated to Forest Hills, which is a very tough opponent, one of the probably two toughest opponents that you could face. So the adjustment period for Bishop Carroll is needed. Meanwhile, Forest Hills, they can just play very comfortably, knowing their own skill. Forest Hills, a very talented group of players that they don't necessarily have to take as much time to acclimate to their opponents. They just play their own play style and make their opponents adjust. That's going to work out for them here in game number one as the clock hits 0, a 3-0 lead. Nothing too dominant from them, but we've seen in series today alone how that can change very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we see, you know, again, the ball possession favoring Forest Hills. Field domination, 84% to 16%. And that's the huge difference, right? I mean, Forest Hills just always on the attack, always peppering the shots. And Bishop Carroll not really getting those opportunities. As you had mentioned, they had a couple good counter attacks. They had some good opportunities. We see 9 saves coming out of Bishop Carroll as well. So a great defensive stops. Unfortunately, you can't be on defense all the time, especially if you want to win a game at Rocket League. And I feel like, you know, no team thus far this season has been able to take Forest Hills out of their gameplay, out of their style. As you mentioned, Forest Hills just always playing the way they want to. There hasn't been a team really to kind of fluster them or make them change up their play style. So I look to see that here, but unfortunately, I think, you know, as we mentioned, Bishop Carroll just has a tough task ahead of them.
Bishop Carroll, a lot of work to do, especially now that game number one is out of the way. Forest Hills, they look great. It's hard to bet against them. We talked about it before the game started. We'll talk about it again. Forest Hills, fantastic team that it's really just a matter for their opponents of how they can adjust. Can they find something that works against Forest Hills? Not a single team has been able to do that up to this point. So, you know, no discredit to any team that is unable to. Forest Hills are just that good. It's game number 2 looking to get underway here. We'll see if Forest Hills can continue right where they left off, or if Bishop Carroll, they can find their first and get their footing here in this series.
Yeah, and I think, Bishop Carroll, they know they don't have much to lose. They've already, secured their way at least into the playoff position with Westmont's loss earlier. So at this point, you have nothing to lose. Go out there, be aggressive, try something crazy, work for those demos, and maybe you can pull out an upset. But again, really not much to lose here for Bishop Carroll. So I would like to see him maybe get a little extra aggressive or just try something different, change up their play style to see if maybe they can force something different out of Forest Hills.
And we'll see. Forest Hills, they get their fourth unanswered goal. Bishop Carroll still looking to find their first here, and it all starts with a potential defensive stand, but it seems as if Forest Hills are more than willing to pile on the pressure. They'll pick up a second as Hale just tees that one in. A good challenge from Pig B opens up that back line, and now Bishop Carroll, that's 5 unanswered goals for them. Forest Hills, they're looking good. They're looking unstoppable. Bishop Carroll, they need to try something new. They can't just continue playing on defense if they want a chance of taking this.
Yeah, we see Max trying to pressure out, but giving you Hale at that midfield. The third man rotations for Forest Hills, as always, have been on point consistently, keeping the ball and the pressure on this blue side, and Mega firing a dirty shot, but an even dirtier save here from Max as they look to keep the dreams alive. Pigby with one to beat over the head, does get one. Now the touch goes to go up, but there's a good bump, keeping Pigby off of that ball, and that's what they need to do. Try to be aggressive here, find those bumps, those demos, not allowing Pigby and the rest of the crew to get up off the ground and get to that ball so quickly, kind of help create and alleviate some of that space here. But again, now finding themselves on the attack for the first time, immediately taken away, and Pigby on the counter attack, the double tap off the back wall, and Pigby doing what he does best.
And a fantastic goal from Pigby, utilizing that ceiling, gets the additional flip, slams it down, not even bouncing on the ground. That's about as pretty as they get. And now 6 unanswered goals for Forest Hills. It's looking great for them in this series. They're looking to just assert dominance over Bishop Carroll, who just haven't quite been able to put those pieces together. We're still very early, though, into game number 2. Still just about 100 seconds of Rocket League played. Still very early, and Bishop Carroll, they have the opportunity to bounce back, but it all starts with getting off of defense. They do so here. They'll pick up their first through Italian, and that is a good start for them. Now it's just a matter of continuing with that and seeing if they're able to pick up any more goals and bring this game to a little bit more of an obtainable scoreline.
I mean, they just have, again, a tough job. Able to find a goal, though, again, as you mentioned. I mean, it's been nearly, didn't get one the first game, almost 2 minutes into the second one as well. So maybe able to build off of that here. We'll see if they can kind of get that confidence rolling. They're finding some aggressive, pressure. They're finding some attacks on the other side. But again, this Forest Hills team is just relentless, and they show you that anybody can score here, right? We see Pigby again with the flip resets, carrying all the way across midfield, giving you hell, making sure to be in that right position at the right time, and just capitalizing on the opportunities that are in front of them.
And we will see if Forest Hills are able to extend that lead or nonetheless hold it. 3-goal leads are plenty in this game, and Forest Hills, they find themselves at that point, but a couple of defensive falters from Forest Hills that we don't expect to see. Sees that 3-goal lead cut down to 2 yet again. And this Forest Hills team, they still have themselves a lead, don't get me wrong, but this team that looked like they did not make mistakes, that's 2 mistakes from them on defense, one after another, that has allowed Bishop Carroll to pick up 2. Brings this game to a much more reasonable comeback potential for Bishop Carroll. And Forest Hills, they have these quick responses, but they would rather just prevent the opportunities from Bishop Carroll altogether and not have to respond like that.
Yeah, again, and Bishop Carroll has had a lot of nice saves, but I feel like it's just so hard to stop this Forest Hills team, right? They're so aggressive. They're always on the attack. The shots are just consistently being fired at the net. And on the other side, they don't really have to play a whole lot of defense. I mean, we've seen a couple nice breakaway goals from Bishop Carroll, but because they're so aggressive and their offensive pressure is so great, that third man rotation, always keeping the ball in play on that blue side, they find themselves really not even having to play that much defense.
And Forest Hills, they find another, and they're trying to just continue that dominance, that confidence that they're showing, and try and almost inflict fear into Bishop Carroll, not let them get enough confidence to break away on offense and just try and constrict them into their own half. We see the barrage of shots coming out from Forest Hills, most of which very high quality that find the back of the net. And when Bishop Carroll, it looked like they were bringing it a bit closer. It seems like Forest Hills, they always have some sort of answer. And with 2 minutes remaining, 4 goals down, not a lot of time for Bishop Carroll to make up for the deficit, so it would be good for them to take this 2 minutes, kind of talk about what you might need to do moving forward if you want to start trying to take a game off of Forest Hills.
Yeah, I mean, look at these pass plays as well. We see Pigby waiting up on the side of the wall, obviously communicating with the Mega Blaziken. Mega passing it just beautifully over there. A nice shot attempt. It doesn't fall here for Forest Hills, but again, they just work so well together as a team. Any given member on this team can hit you with the razzle-dazzle. They have great aerial control, but they have the ability, they have the vision as well, the game awareness to find their teammates, find these great passes, and not even really need to look for the teammates, just kind of knowing where they're going to be as well. That comes a long way, that team chemistry, playing together with each other over time, hubbing together as well. So clearly Forest Hills has great team chemistry here.
Good chemistry and just a lot of individual skill as well. You take these 3 players who, they look great. I think Pigby, we mentioned it a little bit before, is definitely the standout player, the supersonic legend, the top 100 Pigby, just a great person to have on your team. And Mega Blaziken and Hale both doing their parts to support that team dynamic that's showing how well it works. You see a 7-2 scoreline. You're not going to get that with a team that doesn't know how to play together. Being able to put this many goals on against a opponent is something that requires a good dynamic, and Forest Hills are showing that they have just that capability.
Yeah, and honestly, Forest Hills has done it with each and every team that they've played. They really haven't showed to have trouble with any team, which is going to be that much more exciting as we get into these playoffs here in a week or two. Greater Altoona remaining undefeated after today as well. So in my mind, at some point, we're going to see these 2 juggernauts of a team duke it out down the road, hopefully in that grand finale as well. But really, there just hasn't been a team to trouble Forest Hills at all. They've always looked very calm, very consistent, and very in control. They just do it. They know the game, and they do it really well.
They're doing it really well. The clock hits 0, and it shows how well they are doing. Now 2-0 up in the series, 1 game away from getting that sweep and remaining undefeated. They've teed themselves up to do just that. You see possession in their favor. Boost consumption surprisingly close, actually, only differing by about 300. Field domination, though, very high, which I think is the key part. Forest Hills getting that ball down into that Bishop Carroll half so often. And Bishop Carroll, they had a couple of breakaway opportunities, but they were almost gifts from Forest Hills, as they both immediately derived from defensive misplays from Forest Hills. And if you're Bishop Carroll, especially knowing how much Forest Hills can score, you can't just wait on those mistakes. You have to start creating those opportunities yourselves. You have to force them out, because you're not going to get many more mistakes like that, especially against a team like Forest Hills.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about they really don't even have to play much defense. And even though the domination, I think, was 69% there, so a little bit closer in game number 2, but still, I mean, it's Forest Hills really just controlling the pace of the game, playing their game style, the ball always down on that Bishop Carroll side. And it comes with those great rotations as well. They're very fast. They're very quick to get to the ball, get up in the air. The confidence is there. They're challenging every play, and they're getting there first. And those rotations are just so on point, always keeping that ball in play on that Bishop Carroll side. And they're always capitalizing on every opportunity in front of them as well.
Doing a good job that they only have to do one more time. As we get game 3 loaded up, it'll be Bishop Carroll's final chance to prove themselves here. We'll see if they're able to step up to the task, or if Forest Hills are going to pick up right where they left off, which is exactly what's going to happen here. Mega Blaziken striking first in game 3, giving Forest Hills their lead in only 6 seconds.
Yeah, just blazing on by for that one. 6 off the top and an easy goal yet again as they look to get more. Very hungry today is this Forest Hills team, and goal after goal, but they can't seem to get fed enough. Here is Pigby off the ceiling looking for a booming pinch. Down on the ground, the Mega now on the back pedal. Nice touch, soft and subtle, up into the air, fires one of the net. Max with a beautiful save as well. Pigby on that second chance opportunity. Nice pass off the wall, looks for the flip reset, high on the crossbar, another save from Max, and again, just relentless play after play here from Forest Hills. And I mean, how do you have an answer for this?
And you just have to regroup as a team. You know, at some point there is a gap between teams that is too large of a gap for the lower team to be able to keep up with. But Bishop Carroll, it doesn't seem like they're past that threshold. They're a team that's showing potential against Forest Hills. It's just connecting at the right opportunities. You know, it's just getting that confidence to go for these challenges a little bit quicker. You see a lot of Forest Hills goals, they're off of aerials that Bishop Carroll, they're respecting a little bit too much. They're giving him a space. You see Pigby, look at all of the time in the air here, flip reset, having to only wait for a challenge until getting to the opponent's back wall. It's around 5 seconds of airtime before someone from Bishop Carroll was there. So it's not necessarily a lack of mechanical ability from Bishop Carroll. It's just a matter of getting that confidence, getting that in your head that you need to go for these challenges and you need to go for them as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like second nature for Forest Hills. They're so good at it. I know I certainly couldn't combat it. I think my only defense would be Alt F4. Bishop Carroll certainly doing a much better job here in game number 3, though. It's a little bit closer, and as I open my fat mouth, Pigby will shut me up quickly as he finds another one here. Not a super fast or fancy goal, but again, just able to sneak this one by. The rotation's not quite there for Bishop Carroll. A little overextended and out away from that net. The Forest Hills will find themselves up by 2 as they look to sweep this one out, and in fashion, it's been consistent sweeps all day, Jay.
And it looks like, you know, we have ourselves a little bit of sweep city towards the end of the season. Why not, I suppose, as Forest Hills, they look to be that 4th team on the day, the final team of the day to pick up the sweep. Pigby picks up a 3rd for Forest Hills, and as every second ticks by, it seems as if it is just coming to a reality. Forest Hills, they're looking good. They're looking great. They're looking fantastic. There's a lot of adjectives that you could put there, but anything positive you put there, Forest Hills is doing just that. They are looking like a team that's ready to put up a fight in those playoff brackets and potentially even look to contend for that championship.
Yeah, you know, like as I mentioned, I'm really hoping that this Greater Altoona team and this Forest Hills team end up meeting somewhere in this playoff bracket, because they're both incredibly talented. They're both very quick, high intensity to get to the ball. They both have great mechanical ability as well, and so certainly excited for that. But it just goes to show, you know, Forest Hills, they're very true to their style. Very consistent. I love the type of control that they have over the ball, and they really have solid pass plays as well. We don't see, you know, it's, you know, Pigby and SSL, but we don't see him doing it all alone, right? It's certainly working very well together. The team kind of just firing on all cylinders, and I think they're going to be very tough to beat in that playoff run.
Forest Hills looking like a very dominant team that will be a very difficult mountain to climb in those playoffs. You see their capabilities as a trio, and their capabilities are very high, and with what we've seen, it almost makes me wonder if we've truly seen Forest Hills at their true potential. There are areas that they could improve, but, you know, this is a series that they aren't necessarily having to go all out on. It looks very comfortable for them. They're not really having to push themselves that hard. So we'll have to wait until that playoffs to see if Forest Hills, if there's a different Forest Hills that we see when it matters most. Pigby's going to pick up a 5th there, and with less than 100 seconds on the clock, that is 5 goals now for Forest Hills. They're looking good. They're looking like a very difficult team, and it does not surprise you that they're undefeated right now.
Yeah, I mean, Pig B is just so much fun to watch, and you just see the aerial control there. And the game, the situation awareness as well. We see him carrying that ball in off the sidewall in that previous goal. Could have easily tapped it in, but had communication from the teammate. The demo was there. Didn't even need the second touch. Just let the ball work its way in the net. So, but again, it's a lot of fun to watch people who are as mechanically skilled as this team. And again, we see Mega looking to carry. Doesn't find the flick there, but a minute left on the clock here, and really, I mean, we saw Bishop Carroll put some nice goals in the net in game number 2, but again, now struggling here to even find possession down on that side of the field and to really even find many shots to find the back of the net.
Under 60 seconds remaining that separate Forest Hills from taking that win and going undefeated. Bishop Carroll still looking for their first goal here in game number 3, but at this point, it might just be a little bit too late for that goal to have any impact. Final 30 now. Bishop Carroll getting down the field, just looking for some sort of consolation goal. It's off the backboard, but just a little bit too high to be directly under the bar. Forest Hills, they're looking good, and they are not making mistakes. We saw a couple mistakes come out from them in game number 2, but it seems as if they have cleaned them up. It seems as if they know what they're doing. Another goal almost finding the back of the net, but it will get saved out by Bishop Carroll. One final opportunity here at 0 seconds for them. The flick does get pushed to the side, and Forest Hills, they take the win in game 3, and they take the series to remain undefeated in league play.
Yeah, again, the field domination, the ball possession, all in their favor. As you mentioned, boost consumption actually in the favor of Bishop there. But again, the touches, the possessions, the shots on goal, all in the favor of Forest Hills. As true to the fashion, we get out the brooms. 4 series today, 4 big sweeps. Even though they were sweeps, I mean, a lot of these series were very, very exciting. Some of them even very close, but congratulations to all the victors today. Congratulations to Greater Altoona and Forest Hills as well, as we end the regular season, and they remain the 2 only undefeated teams here with us.
And fantastic to see the step up, the performance. Absolutely phenomenal from the teams today. Always a pleasure to see. And now that we have concluded our league play, we have our final listings. We know the teams making it through. I think everyone, you already have a good idea of who's making it through based on what you've seen today. And playoffs, we will see them begin next Tuesday. We'll have playoffs on Tuesday of next week, and then that Thursday we'll finish out the playoffs. So 2 days next week that we will see. You're not going to want to miss those. They are going to be, if they're just going to get more exciting from here. If you thought today was great, I mean, it's just going to be a massive step up from that.
Yeah, certainly. So, guys, be sure to click that follow button. We've got, obviously, Tech High School always bringing you awesome Rocket League, Valorant, Overwatch 2, as well as we look to wrap up all these seasons and head into the playoffs. It's certainly been a phenomenal time here at Tech High School Series. Whether you're watching Division 1 or the other Division 2 channel, we are certainly glad to have you guys. Hopefully, we'll see you a little bit later this week for more action as well, guys. That's going to be all for us today. Hopefully, everybody has a great day, and we'll see you next time.